Welcome into a special edition, a very special edition of the WVSports.com podcast. I'm Keenan Cummings, not joined by my usual co-host, Wesley Shoemaker. Instead, a very special guest, West Virginia Director of Player Personnel, Trey Neyer. Welcome in, Trey.
Thanks for having me, Keenan. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. I wrote a column. I do it every week. I call it 3-2-1. Kind of look at things in the program, football, basketball, and my signing day prediction. I wrote this Sunday. Keep in mind, was I had no idea what was going to happen on signing day. And in my position, I'm supposed to know that. I'm at least supposed to have an idea. This is one of the few ones where I had absolutely no idea. In all the scenarios, I did not expect what happened to happen. Trey, how did you get to signing 21 guys? Not only signing all the guys you had committed, but 2 additional guys. How does that happen with what happened this weekend?
Yeah, it was a, starting really Sunday at about 3:45, got into the office and kind of, I actually ended up staying back from Texas Tech. We thought we might have an official visit. So I was here actually all weekend. Just kind of getting some signing day stuff ready and getting all that stuff in the mail and getting the grant and aids and all that stuff organized. And then, came in Sunday, felt like I was in a pretty good place. And then at about 3:45, everything pretty much changed, right? Got on the Zoom and Coach Brown kind of informed us what was happening. And obviously, that's certainly not easy and definitely not easy. You're 3 days away from signing day. So really everything on Sunday kind of changed. And what was originally supposed to be an off day ended up calling basically the entire high school staff back in to the office. And we kind of, really started to formulate a plan. All right, what are we going to do to get this thing, to really make sure signing day is not a complete disaster, right? And to Coach Brown's credit, one of the last things he told us on that Zoom call was to make sure, we communicate with recruits. And, I think that says a lot about him. And I think it says a lot about our staff, my staff, the high school recruiting department, and then our on-field coaches, graduate assistants, quality control, everybody that really goes into the recruiting process. But, nobody really flinched, and we hopped on really since, Sunday at 3:45. I don't know if I've been off the phone for probably logged a ton of hours on the phone, just talking to people. And really we did that because we felt like we needed to, right? We owed it to the guys that had been committed to us and trusted us. And really that just kind of started the open and honest dialogue of, okay, what does it look like if you don't sign? What does it look like if you do sign? And being extremely honest about, hey, if you do sign, I don't know what this is going to look like, but here's what I would say is going to happen if you don't sign, or here's what I would do if I was in your shoes, and really just try to be open and honest with them. But no, it was a crazy 72 hours. Obviously, what we pulled off on signing day was I think probably way better than what I would have said would have happened on Sunday if you kind of went back in time. But obviously, an extremely successful day on that end. But yeah, man, crazy 72 hours.
Yeah, Trey, I think most of our members know who you are, but I do think you deserve an introduction. Kind of tell people, your role in the program and, what all you do.
Yeah, so I've actually had a bunch of different titles since I got here. I got here in January of 2020. Came from Miami, Ohio, where I was the director of player personnel. I took the role as the recruiting coordinator for the defensive side of the ball, and then kind of transitioned to associate director of recruiting, and then director of player personnel. So really, since I've been here, obviously there's, college football has changed a ton. Started out primarily recruiting defensive players, helping defensive coaches recruit, transitioned that into the portal era really kind of started and it was already kind of up and running in 2020, but really kind of hit in 2021, 2022. So played a big role in the portal and high school recruiting then. And then, as the portal has grown, and that role's kind of expanded. I really just kind of focus primarily on high school recruiting. So really the entire process from a prospect's freshman year to senior year, that's kind of where we fall. We do junior college recruiting as well. But yeah, I mean, the entire high school recruiting process, which is massive, right? And man, I think we've got about 40 people. That's including student assistants and workers that work full time in high school recruiting, and it's just such a big undertaking. Like, I mean, you think about all the different things that go into it: on-campus recruiting, film evaluation, coaches going out on the road, the head coach travel when he's out on the road. Head coach meeting with recruits when they're on campus. So there's so many things that go into the high school recruiting process. And if you think about it, like our roster is made up of around 80% high school players, right? So we're starting with a really big number and making it small and ultimately getting to the 20 to 24 that you sign high school wise. That's a number we always kind of felt comfortable with. But taking a really big number and making it small. And that's really kind of what we do, and make sure we're picking the right players and getting on the right players that fit West Virginia, fit the head coach's vision, and really will work here at West Virginia.
It's hard enough, this process, with a head coach. And I know a lot of these guys had options. How hard is the message in this situation? And was there a moment where you kind of felt, I know each individual is different,
Sure,
but was there a moment where you felt, okay, this thing's starting to turn for us a little bit in a positive way?
Yeah. I would say so. I think, like I said, Keenan, when I really started, when you go to make the first phone call, and I don't even remember who I called first, but you kind of look at the list and you say, okay, who do we need to get to right now? Who do we think is going to be solid with us throughout this? And you really kind of just start working down the list. And when I got on that first phone call, obviously you try to sit there and think through, all right, what would I say if I was in their situation? What are some of the questions they're probably going to hit me with? And I think everybody's got a plan, right? Until you're on that call. But I think there were some questions, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, you know what? Just be honest. Just tell the truth. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I think I started that out with, hey, I can only advise you here, and almost like treat me as if I'm your agent, and I'll treat you the same way, and I'll act in your best interest, because I don't know what the future looks like. My world has just been rocked too. The coach that I believed in, I came here because of Coach Brown's vision. He gave me an opportunity here. I have learned so much from him, owe him, really my career to this point. And I'm trying to process that too. And I don't know if I fully have processed that, but didn't really have time. So I think the honesty, talking them through, their current situation, what it looks like, that was kind of the way that we approached it. Just be honest with them, tell them the truth, and just see what questions they have.
So much of recruiting is about relationships, and obviously you're involved with so many of these kids, and all of them really.
Yep.
How, obviously people are okay, NIL, they're throwing around NIL. This really ultimately comes down to trust and relationships, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, when we get to the end of a recruiting process, we always go back and kind of spend a little bit of time, self-scouting, right? So going back and trying to figure out, where do we maybe, take a step in the wrong direction, where do we lack or whatever. So we've really spent the last couple of days going back and looking at this 25 class, and, the however we end up signing, I think we'll get one more today, and that'll put us at 22. But of those 22 guys, they've averaged about 5 visits per prospect, right? So some of them obviously much more the in-state guys that can drive here. But, so you think 22 of those guys, and they've all averaged about 5 times on campus. So you have a built-up relationship, right? And you have, really, they know you by name, they know your family, they know your family situation. They, it gets to a much deeper level. So you have this relationship built up, and now you're 3 days away from the next step in that relationship, which is ultimately signing a grant and aid and committing fully to West Virginia. And that's the thing is this becomes much more than just okay, hey, he's a good football player, let's get him here, right? It's hey, he's a good football player, and I know his family dynamic, I know his mom, I know his dad, I know his caregiver, I know his grandparents, you know what I'm so it gets to a point where you've got such a deep relationship with them. And that's why I think ultimately our entire staff rallied, my entire staff rallied, like to really see this thing through, because we owe them that, and you have these deep relationships with them.
It's one thing, which is incredible, by the way. I mean, I've written about this a lot. I've talked about it a lot. I've never seen anything like it. You look at other Power 4 programs, they didn't have the same type of deal, with coaching turnover, this cycle. I think that speaks to what you guys did, but it's one thing to sign guys that you've had committed. You guys added 2 guys.
Yeah.
How does that happen, Trey? How does that happen? And how does, you can go through individual recruitments if you want, or speak generally. How does that happen?
Yeah. So, the 2 you're talking about, Dwayne Galloway and Julian Horton, with Julian, like I said, I stayed back from Texas Tech, and we were going to have Julian on an official visit and finish it up when the coaches got back in town. So we had that thing at a pretty good spot, right? And let's just think about Julian here. He's committed to UNC for a long time, and we had a really good relationship with Julian. And he was ultimately a guy that we knew we wanted to sign. But, so now it's okay, UNC, West Virginia, both without a head coach. And, I think it speaks volumes to the guys on my staff and the coaches in our building. Like, okay, it's a pride thing, right? At the end of the day, a lot of this had to do with pride and the way that we finish this thing out. Like, all of us want to do good at our jobs, and we strive to be the best that we can be. And, okay, so it's us and UNC without a head coach. Let's go get him, right? And I think for Julian, he felt comfortable with us. He felt comfortable with this being in place close to his home. And ultimately, what I told him, and Ren's going to do an amazing job finding a new head coach. We know that he's going to leave no stone unturned. And I just said, hey, Julian, listen, you'll end up playing for a good head coach, whoever that is. And I think that resonated with him, and just open, honest dialogue with him. And then, with Dwayne, we're sitting there on Monday night after kind of the first initial, crazy day. And, somebody in the room said, hey, what about Dwayne Galloway? Let's see what he's doing. So, called up his trainer, Darren, and then called Julian, and again, just had an open and honest conversation of, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think this can be a good situation for you. You've been with us throughout this process. Like, let's see if we can get this thing to the finish line. And we did. And honestly, in this class, we ended up signing 2 guys that run under 10.5 100-meter debt, so you think about just the addition of speed, and it doesn't matter who the new head coach is, everybody's trying to get bigger, faster, stronger, and we certainly got faster. And I think this DB class, I don't know if there's a single guy that runs over a 4.55. So you just talk about the improvement in speed right there. And that's what we set out to do initially when we started in the 25 class, was we wanted to get faster. And I think we've done that certainly with this 25 class. So yeah, 2 additions, it was obviously like I said, a testament to all the people in my office and the coaches on our staff.
It a little bit too. I mean, those are 2 guys that you mentioned, you had a relationship with, that was already established. Both of them had been to campus before. Yep. So there was a comfort level there. I mean, that helps in those things, right?
Yeah, certainly. And that's what, since I've gotten here in 2020, like I think, the thing that I can say is, like, we have left this recruiting department and really through Coach Brown's vision in a much better place than what we got it, right? When I first started here, I think we had 4 full-time employees in the recruiting department, right? And now you look at it, okay, we've got, I think we've got like 12 full-time employees that work in high school recruiting alone. And then you talk about all of our student assistants, like, we left this thing in a much better situation. And I think, that's a testament to all the people here. But yeah, I mean, it's grown, and we put an emphasis on getting guys on campus. And I think that if you look back over what we've done over the last 5 to 6 years, like, we have gotten big time players on campus. When we get them on an official visit, we have a chance. And, I think our numbers and our production in that area, especially official visits, and that's led by Taylor West and her crew. Like, she does a phenomenal job. I think we went over 50% on official visits this year, which is a really good number to have. I think we had 44 official visits in the high school and junior college areas, and we hit on, well, what I think will be 22 today. So, really, really good in that respect. Once we get guys here, we have a legitimate chance to get them.
You look at this class in totality, throw out, it's hard to throw it out, but even what happened,
Yep.
You're not going to get every guy you want.
No.
But overall, this is close, I would say, to what you guys set out to do.
Yes. Yeah. And we hit our number, like I said, Coach Brown, his plan was always, all right, we take anywhere from 20 to 24 high school players. Obviously, being the guy who deals primarily in high school recruiting, we're always pushing to get more. Fighting for it. Absolutely. But yeah, no, we ended up with 21, 22 here. And ultimately, I think, what we set out to do in 25 and the guys that we set out to go get, like, we got them, and we did what we needed to do. And if this is our last task here at West Virginia, I think, we can all feel pretty good about the job that we did, finishing it out.
A couple guys, I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but
Yep.
A couple guys that I'd like to talk about, I've seen him in person. Guy's humongous. Aiden Buchanan.
Yeah.
What kind of trajectory does he have? It seems like with the senior year he had, he's a guy that has a chance to be a really good football player.
Yeah. He is a guy that we've been on for a long time now. And I think it also is a kind of a testament to what we've done here is we've developed a really good relationship with the guys at Good Counsel. They're here for all of our 7-on-7s, our big man camps. We get guys on campus from Good Counsel, which is one of the best programs in the state of Maryland. And, going back, like I said, we've done a really good job repairing and improving the relationships of the schools within 6 hours of Morgantown, right? I think that's one of the things that no matter how it ends here, like, that's one of the things that we can be proud about is we did a really good job getting back in with some of the elite programs that are surrounding our 6-hour radius. And Aiden was a guy that, he comes on campus, he's got ties to West Virginia. We identified him early, and he continued to get better each year that he played high school football. Think back to sophomore, junior, and then his senior year. Like, you take a guy who's got obviously tremendous size, which is what you're looking for at the tackle position, tremendous size and length, but he improved his athleticism every single year. And the great thing about his recruitment is we got to see that on campus every summer, right? So every year for our big man camp, when Good Counsel will bring down a group of guys, like, you just saw this continuous improvement, right? And I think that Aiden has a tremendous future ahead of him. Like, I think he's going to probably challenge for playing time as a freshman. And then, I think his sophomore, junior, senior season, like, he's got a chance to be a really, really, really good player for the Mountaineers. And he's got a bright future ahead of him in football if he can get this whole thing figured out and it starts to click. But like I said, athleticism, size, length, it's what you're looking for in a tackle.
A guy that I personally think is criminally underrated, Chris Filippo. He just looks like a football player to me. I mean, he's a guy you guys kind of uncovered and kept him in the fold.
Yep, absolutely. So Chris, is a guy that was, in my opinion, pretty under recruited. His junior film is really good. Safety with good athleticism, runs a 10-900 meter, came here and ran a 4.5 at camp in person, which, is what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get guys here and see it live, right? And Chris is a guy who he camped for us. We had a workout with him on a camp day, and we put him through everything. And it was me and Coach Shadon, and extremely impressed by Chris is a football player, right? Really heady, smart, instinctual, but coupled with good athleticism, and playing at a really good program. But he battled injuries as a senior, so his senior film wasn't as good as what he would have wanted it to be. But I think once he's got to get his shoulder repaired here, and he's actually, I think he's in surgery today, if everything's still progressing the way it should be. But yeah, so I think once he gets recovered, like I think he's got a really bright future. Well, they got him as a 2-star. Like he's not a 2-star. And he's a 6'2 plus 215, is probably what he'll end up playing at. And couple that with really good speed, really good change of direction, willing tackler, smart football player. Like there's a lot to like about Chris.
A couple more here. You added 3 guys late.
Yep.
What did you like about all 3 of them?
Yeah. So Hamidi, Russell, and Jameer, is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
Yep. So with Jameer, so got a really good relationship. Jameer's from Cincinnati. It's where I'm from. And his coach, Coach McLaughlin, hit me up over the summer and said, "Hey, I got a guy that, he doesn't have junior film, really good athlete, really big, really tall. And I think he's going to have a really good senior year." And so put him on the list, right? And then we start to watch him as the season goes. And he's a guy that he's coming back off an ACL. All right. Really good athlete, good feet. And he's got like 83 plus wing, 34 plus arm, which is elite, coupled with really good athleticism. And I think that Jameer, he's a developmental offensive lineman. He's one of those guys, you get him in the program for 2 years and then you start to see something. So I think that Jameer he's like I said, developmental guy who's got a really bright future ahead of him. Tyrell, another guy that we did senior eval on. I'm sitting there just watching guys, when we start to get into the senior season, so through the fall, you start looking at other teams' commits, and I came from the MAC, so that's usually where I start. Is okay. Most MAC schools are within our 6-hour radius. They recruit a bunch of guys from their 6-hour radius, and Tyrell's a guy that he jumped off the film because he produced in all 3 phases of the game, right, on offense, defense, and in the kicking game. Really good production, really good speed. And he's a guy that's got versatility, right? So, the senior eval process is huge for us. That's the guys that we have committed going into the season, making sure that they're progressing and not regressing. And then trying to find guys that are standing out. And Tyrell was a guy that man, he stood out and he jumped off the tape, and that's what you're looking for. And then Hamidi, another guy from Ohio, but I was
Strong Ohio flavor in this class.
Yeah, no doubt. We got 6 guys from Ohio, and obviously,
that makes you happy.
Yeah, it does, and that's one of the reasons why I even ended up on staff was to help us in Ohio, and obviously the hard work of all. We've got 5 coaches throughout my time here that have full-time recruited in Ohio, and it's an area where we've invested because the level of football is really good, and in the state of West Virginia, and this is no knock on the football in West Virginia. There's really good football in West Virginia, and we've got 28 players on the 24 roster from the state of West Virginia, and that's something that we take great pride in, is finding good players from our state that care about the program. But we've got to go into other states, and we've got to uncover talent just like we do in our own state. And Brandon was a guy who, again, committed to Ohio, and I know people will knock on that. We're robbing MAC schools, whatever. Here's the thing. The MAC is full of really good football players as well. A lot of them get drafted. Every single year you see it. Guys are drafted out of the MAC, right? So we went and identified the best players in the MAC that can play at our level. And Brandon is one of those guys. He's an interior offensive lineman with really good athleticism, basketball player, smart kid. Like, he's a guy that can be your center, your guard, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. And he's coached by a guy who played for, I think 6 to 8 years in the NFL, played for the Patriots. And he bragged on this guy, and I think all 3 of those guys that we found late are going to be really good football players at the Power 4 level.
You got your quarterback early in this class.
Yep.
Scotty Fox. How big was it to get him to reaffirm. Obviously there was a little bit of uncertainty there, but it seemed like from an outside perspective, once he reaffirmed, and I know all these situations are different, but
Sure.
others started to roll in.
Yep.
Is that kind of what you saw, or is that me kind of following social media a little too much?
No, I think that Scotty's done a really good job being a leader in this class, and that's all you can ask for, is, from your quarterback that's committed, is he's got to, and I think that says a lot about Scotty, right? Guys want to, that guys gravitate towards him, and that's what you want in a quarterback, right? And he's done a really good job assuming the leadership role in the class, and that's, like I said, that is what you want out of your quarterback. So the first thing is, all right, get him back in the fold, and that's what we did, is get Scotty to see that, okay, this is probably going to be the best situation for me. It's in P4 G5 recruiting, the quarterback position has to come first, because there's only so many spots and there's only so many guys out there that can fill those spots. So most P4 plays, and Scotty is a P4 quarterback. He's got high end P4 talent, and he's a guy that unfortunately, if he didn't sign here, I don't know where he would have ended up, because most schools have their guy already. So and Scotty is he's bought into this place. He's been down here 10 plus times. His family's in, it's 3 hours from home. This is still a really good situation for Scotty. And I think once I talked to him and Coach Allen talked to him, like, he understood, okay, this is probably my best situation. And here's the thing, come here, he's going to early enroll, and then he'll be able to figure it out from there. But I think Scotty's got a really bright future. And he's a guy that, again, camped with us 2 times. We have a lot of familiarity with his game, what he needs to improve on. And I think, he understands what he needs to improve on. And if you go and look at his high school stats, each year he's gotten better and better. Each year he's won more and more games. And like, from a really good program in Ohio, like, was up for Mr. Football in Ohio. Like, he is a guy that has a really bright future, runs a 4.6, and athletically is really everything you want. So, and couple that with really good arm. So, yeah, it was huge to get him back in, because so many guys like him in this class.
Trey, I've been doing this a long time, 15 years at least, covering recruiting. I followed it before that. I can truly say I've seen a lot, but you can never not be surprised in recruiting. And what you guys pulled off this week was incredible. Definitely surprising to me, at least from where I thought they were Sunday to where you ended up. I think you really hit it out of the park. And I will say this, anything, I'm going to open the floor to you here, anything you want to say to fans, the work your staff has done, because there's a lot of people, you mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes on into this. It's not just you offer a kid and they sign.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, Keenan, like, you're around here a bunch. You come to our summer camps, you see the amount of guys that I've got on my staff that do a phenomenal job. Ken Signoretti he's the number 2 in recruiting, and he does a really good job. He's a WVU grad, came up through our intern program and ultimately promoted into a full-time role. He does a phenomenal job. Cam Hall, he handles all of our recruiting communication, and he does a really good job. He's been with us for 2 years now. And then I've got 3 guys that we recently promoted into full-time roles, in Tyler Haywood, Morgan Montgomery, and Ian Scafidi. And all 3 of those guys are WVU grads that came up through our intern program and have done a phenomenal job growing in this profession. And they're going to be really good for a long time. And then we've got 10 student interns who are underneath those guys, and they manage them on a daily basis, that are all WVU students that want to work in college football, and they come here and work for free. And really grind and pour all they have into this place. And then you talk about our on-campus staff, and Taylor West and Kayla, and they're 10 to 15 students that are all WVU students that come here and work for free and give their time. And they all do a phenomenal job. We've got a really good creative department, Jake, Ty, and Andrew, and their students. And then, our support staff and Fincher, who Zach Fincher, who does a really, really good job of, he plays a massive role in the high school recruiting process, because he handles all the transcripts and the academic reads and getting guys eligible and all of that. And then Rashid who leads him, and Coleman and Patrick and our strength staff, our training. Like, there are so many people that go into this process, and I'm sitting here talking, but at the end of the day, all of those people are so important to what we do on a daily basis. And really all of those people have touched the 25 class that I think have a chance to be really good Mountaineers. And you know what, just to kind of sum it all up, Keenan, like, man, I've really enjoyed my time here. My wife and I, have been in Morgantown for the last 5 years, and we've loved our time here. Been married since I've been here. Kind of really grown up here, and I've really enjoyed my time. And I hope that we left a somewhat of a lasting impact on the Mountaineers. And man, I've got nothing but love for this place, and I really do want to see it be successful, and that's why we poured so much into it. So no matter what happens here, like I said, I hope to remain in Morgantown, but there's no guarantee of that. And at the end of the day, I think we can all be pretty proud of what we did here in terms of getting this thing to the next, to really, like I said, the high school recruiting department has improved so much since I've been here. We've added so many pieces to it, and I think we've left a somewhat of a lasting mark on this place. So and I can really thank. This has been one of the best places I've been in terms of fan support and people that care about football, and that's where you want to work, is a place where people care about it. And yeah, man, I appreciate you, Keenan. You've done a bunch since I've been here, and nothing but love, man.
Yeah, very much the same. I'm with you. I think that what you guys pulled off, I said it a bunch. I've never seen anything like it in recruiting. I think it deserves the recognition it deserves. And it's crazy to me, this 2025 class, it's going to be remembered at least for how it came together. No matter what happens, you never could predict these things, but I think the fan base is really united around these guys, people on my message board, people on social media, and I think that's a testament to the work that you guys put in and the belief that the players have in the program. And I echo your sentiment, Trey. I've always enjoyed working, working with you and all that as well. So wish you the best, regardless of what happens in the next couple of weeks. I know this is uncertain for you and for everybody involved, but it's part of the business. We all understand that.
Yep,
and
no doubt.
I think if anybody deserves some time to talk about this class, it's definitely you with the work that you guys put in.
Well, I appreciate that, Keenan, and I know you've got a message board of people that want to know who the new head coach is going to be. So I'll let you get back to that.
Thank you, Trey. I really appreciate your time. And this has been another edition of the WVSports.com podcast.